Chapter 732, Pointing the Sword at the Sky and Sea. Facing Lanqing City's questions, Zhu Jing crossed his arms on the table and said with a firm gaze, "The biggest conflict right now is the invasion of foreign enemies. We must do whatever it takes to fight a perfect victory. The defense of Blizzard City is strong enough, and even if Zhu Rong and the 500 elite Yanyun troops under his command are missing, it will not have a significant impact." Lanqing City frowned slightly, thought about it, and didn't continue to speak. It would be impolite for him to continue questioning something that the leader had already decided. This was not the way an outstanding official would act. Zhu Jing slammed his hand on the table and said, "Now, let's get moving. We must end this war outside the borders of the country before they cause widespread destruction. Absolutely, we cannot let them penetrate deep into the heart of the Central Plains." Zhang Yi and the others stood up together and responded loudly, "Yes." Their voices were clear and crisp. Then Zhang Yi, Gao Changkong and Tu Yunlai left the meeting room without hesitation. Time waits for no man. The three foreign forces had almost reached the harbor of the coastal city by this time. If they were late by even one step, who knows how many people would suffer. Linhai City and Tianhai City were lucky. After all, both places had suffered great calamities, and there were very few living people left in the two cities. Tianhai City had been warned by Zhang Yi before and had taken precautions. However, Huazhou City, facing an attack by 500 members of the demon sect, was afraid that there would be another bloody battle. This was why Zhu Jing had rarely dispatched Tu Yunlai. Huazhou City must be preserved, it was the face of their entire Jiangnan region. Zhang Yi and the others walked out of the meeting room and hurried downstairs. Zhang Yi contacted Zhou Kur in Tianhai City as soon as possible. It was midnight, and it took a while for Zhou Kur to wake up. She was overjoyed to see that Zhang Yi had called. "Hey, Zhang Yi. Why did you call me at this late hour? Could it be that?" Zhang Yi spoke quickly, "Listen, Tianhai City is in danger. Eclipse Moon has returned with his men to cause trouble, and a group of pirates are offshore and will arrive in Tianhai City soon. None of you are allowed to go outside. Go to the basement immediately. I'll be in Tianhai City soon." Zhou Kur's face suddenly turned serious. She lifted the straps of her pajamas and turned her two long, white legs to the edge of the bed to put on her slippers. "Okay, I'll notify everyone immediately. Don't be afraid, they won't be able to break into the shelter. I'll be there in half an hour at the most." Zhang Yi quickly finished explaining what had happened and hung up the phone. After that, he called Chen Jingguan at the Chaoyu base. Since the enemy was coming from the sea, the first place to suffer would be the harbor at the Chaoyu base. Chen Jingguan was still awake. There were still thousands of people at the Chaoyu base, and every day he had to manage the affairs of the base, so he slept relatively late. As soon as Zhang Yi's phone rang, he quickly answered it. "Boss, you're still awake this late?" Zhang Yi was too lazy to waste time talking nonsense with him, and quickly explained the situation. "I told you to get ready for battle, how are you doing?" Chen Jingguan's face became serious, and while he was worried, he answered, "We've already done everything you asked. Everyone is resting in the shelters, and the strategic supplies have all been moved. There's nothing above the harbor except for some large containers that are difficult to move." Zhang Yi nodded, "Very well, you remain in hiding and wait for my orders." After Zhang Yi finished the call, he realized that there were only 3 people in the elevator, him, Tu Yunlai, and Gao Changkong. Zhang Yi glanced at them and thought for a moment, not knowing what to say. He didn't know Gao Changkong very well, and he had never spoken to Tu Yunlai before. So there was nothing to talk about for now, and everyone should just do their jobs and solve the problems within their scope of responsibility first. However, Tu Yunlai was the first to speak. He said in a hoarse voice, "I will deal with the group of Ronin in Huazhou City as soon as possible. Then I will support you. If you encounter danger and cannot solve it yourself, just hide and wait for our support." As the head of the operations department, Tu Yunlai was also a figure at the top of the power center in Blizzard City. In this battle, he also wanted to make a great achievement and then seize more capital for his future. However, he did have the qualifications to say such things. The 500 Yan Yunwei troops he led on this mission were all the most elite of the Yan Yun forces. They included 10 elite Delta-class aliens and 30 outstanding Beta to Gamma-class aliens. The rest were also well-trained and fully armed elite fighters. Zhang Yi shrugged, as he wasn't very interested in credit or anything. As long as they could annihilate Eclipse Moon and restore peace to the Jiangnan region, especially the area where he lived, that would be fine. Very well, I will ask you to come and provide support if necessary. Gao Changkong smiled, but did not respond to Tu Yonglia's words. Instead, he looked at Zhang Yi. I'm still waiting for you to come over and annihilate Eclipse Moon with us. Don't forget, Eclipse Moon is our biggest target. Without Zhang Yi's ability to block and predict, dealing with Eclipse Moon would not be an easy task. Even if Gao Changkong had mastered the power of reincarnation, it would still be a great risk. Zhang Yi sensed a difference in the tone of Gao Changkong and Tu Yonglai. Just as Uncle Deng Yuan had said at the beginning, the senior management of Blizzard City was divided into different factions. They were competing with each other both overtly and covertly. However, as an outsider, he would not be involved in the power struggle and would not be guarded against. What a hassle! Zhang Yi thought to himself. He had no interest in power, and even felt that it would only put people in danger. Before Zhang Yi could reply, Gao Changkong said, I have heard the members of the Iron Blood Squad mention the Tianlong pirates in the Southern Sea. Their strength is indeed quite good, but if the Tianlong king himself is not in command, the strength of his subordinates will be mediocre. With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult to deal with them. The Tenryu pirates had a great reputation and numbered in the tens of thousands. But in an era where top-notch aliens determined the outcome of battles, it did not mean that they had the strength to sweep everything away. Otherwise, Blizzard City would not have needed to deploy the Divine Squad against Eclipse Moon in the first place. The 300,000-strong defense force could have easily crushed it. According to the data obtained by Blizzard City, it only took 2 investigation teams to destroy a force like the Tenryu pirates. And if just one of the teams came, the Tengu squad led by Zhang Yi today could completely take it down. Therefore, in the eyes of everyone, the 4th team of the Tenryu pirates was just a smoke bomb that had been lured by Eclipse Moon and came to create trouble. Zhang Yi nodded. We'll have to fight them to find out just how strong they are. He never underestimated any opponent. Arrogance was a deadly sin. Chapter 733, Marching to the Battlefield. Zhang Yi arrived downstairs, and the members of the Tengu squad were already fully geared up and ready to go, waiting for Zhang Yi's order to move. And Zhang Yi didn't waste any words. Let's go! The group quickly left the operations command center. There were armored vehicles waiting outside to transport them to the airport. Yang Xinxin was sitting to Zhang Yi's left, Liang Yu to his right, and Hua Hua was in Yang Xinxin's arms. Zhang Yi first gave everyone a brief rundown of their combat mission. We will first head to Tianhai City to eliminate the Sky Dragon pirates who have landed there. Tianhai City is my territory, I am familiar with the terrain there, and I have my own spies there. So the battle is in our favor. Everyone just needs to bring out what they have trained for. After saying this, he specifically reminded Liang Yu and Hua Hua. During the battle, you stay close to Xinxin. This is her first time on the battlefield, so you protect her. Liang Yu nodded, of course. Hua Hua opened her mouth wide, meow. Yang Xinxin also did not refuse Zhang Yi's special care. Although she had also awakened her superpower, she needed to adapt to her abilities on the battlefield. Not to mention that her ability was very special and the risk was relatively high. With the protection of Hua Hua and Liang Yu, her life could be ensured. As for the tactical arrangements, Bai Li, I'll leave it to you. Zhang Yi looked at Bai Li Changqing and said, until I give my orders, you will decide all operational plans. Professional matters should be left to professionals. Bai Li Changqing was definitely more adept at fighting. Zhang Yi was not stupid enough to enter a field he was not good at. Bai Li Changqing was a little excited. He had not expected Zhang Yi to trust him so much. Delegation of power by a leader is the greatest recognition of his subordinates. Yes. Bai Li Changqing did not say much nonsense and accepted Zhang Yi's order. This decision also greatly relieved the minds of the others. If Zhang Yi, an outsider, had forced his way in and given orders, they would have been worried. It was one thing to acknowledge Zhang Yi's personal strength. But command ability and personal combat power were completely unrelated. The Tengu Squad, Reincarnation Squad, and Yanyan unit quickly arrived at the airport. Searchlights pierced the night sky, and Blizzard City was filled with a sense of foreboding. It was going to be another sleepless night. As one fighter jet after another took off, the three teams also flew off to their respective battlefields. Meanwhile, in Tianhai City, thanks to Zhang Yi's early warning, the shelter and the three forces had all gathered their personnel and supplies in advance and moved to a safe area. After the pirates of the Tianlong Pirates arrived offshore, they immediately switched to snowmobiles and roared along the ice surface to the shore. My little ones, plunder to your heart's content. Kill all the men here and take all the food and resources. Kanuta let out a loud laugh, and the thousands of pirates in the crew also laughed wildly, ready to loot. If they could pull off this heist today, they wouldn't need to set sail again for a year. Everyone had heard of the wealth of the Tianhai City. And from now on, they would also have a formidable reputation in the pirate world. What about the kingdom of Huashu? They were going to be looted anyway. But after this excited group of pirates rushed ashore, they soon discovered that something was wrong. Because in the huge city of Tianhai, after searching for a long time, they couldn't see a single person. The city was like a dead city, and it was even difficult to find traces of human activity. The major bases had long ago moved their populations and resources half a month ago, and all that was left on the ground were some buildings, which had also been buried by the snow. It looked as if there had never been any human activity. Only in the harbor area of the Chaoyu base did they find some large containers with some supplies inside. But those were just cars or large machinery, as well as scattered supplies, which were of little use and not convenient to transport. Kanat immediately sensed that something was wrong. He immediately asked the Eclipse Moon people what the situation was. Phoenix Courtrin gave the answer. According to the information, there are only 4 powers left in this city, and their resources have been pooled. If you eliminate them, you can easily plunder most of the resources of Tianhai City. Kanat pondered for a moment and decided that Phoenix Courtrin was not lying to him. Because Tianhai City has huge resources, and at this time, it is impossible to transfer them in large quantities. There is only one conclusion: those important resources have been hidden. As long as they can find out where they are buried, to be precise, where the local forces have hidden them, they will be able to obtain those supplies. Kanat immediately ordered his men to find the places where the major forces had hidden, even if they had to dig up the entire city to do so. What they didn't know was that at this very moment, thousands of people from the Chaoyu base were right beneath their feet. Blizzard City. Zhu Jing had finished arranging for Zhang Yi and the other 2 teams to go out and fight. He himself was also considering how to solve the follow-up problems. Chidumo and Eclipse Moon both belonged to the Ronin organization, which was the largest but only had a few hundred people. However, the Tianlong pirates were active in the southern waters and had the power to threaten the kingdom. Large forces were easier to negotiate with and deal with. The Tianlong pirates dared to attack the Jiangnan region. Their appetite is too big. We must teach them a good lesson, otherwise there will never be peace in the southeastern coastal region. Zhu Jing said in a deep voice. Upon hearing this, Lan Xincheng bowed and said, "The sea is patrolled by warships from the East Sea region. They must have been guided by the prophet who predicted the eclipse of the moon to avoid the patrols. Moreover, the southeastern sea is dotted with islands, and we cannot confirm the location of their headquarters at the moment. It is not easy to attack them." Zhu Zheng's gaze became deep. That's not hard. Once we can confirm the location of their headquarters, a single Love Reaper will solve the problem once and for all. As for how to confirm the location of the Tenrya Pirates' headquarters, all we need to do is send out scouts, and we'll get results. The problem is that the Love Reaper cannot be used indiscriminately. The Tenryu pirates can be easily destroyed, but once the Love Reaper is used, it could set a bad precedent. In the future, this weapon will be used extensively across the entire planet. Lan Xiancheng, however, gave a small smile. We have other ways to deal with them. Zhu Jin glanced up at Lan Xiancheng.
Oh?
What do you have in mind? Lan Xiancheng smiled and said, the Starry Sea is full of islands, and they rely on imports for both food and energy. After the end of the world, maritime transport will be even more difficult, and their access to supplies will be even more limited. We just need to make a move in these two areas to completely cut them off from food. And without diesel, their large number of ships have all become scrap metal. Zhu Zheng's expression changed, and he smiled. You can always come up with something new.